Hey, what's up you guys, and welcome to my craziest stories about working at a party hostel in Slovakia vlog. You might want to grab a drink because this one's gonna be interesting. I know I need one. So there really wasn't many moments where crazy things didn't happen, but I have compiled a list of my top 10 craziest moments, at least that I can remember, after being on basically a 2.5 week bender. Oh my god, it was basically my job to be drunk, and it was fun, but it took a toll on me, my goodness. Okay, let's start at the beginning. I know I mentioned this a little bit in my last vlog about my introduction to this hostel, but I think this begins crazy story number 1. So it was during my manager giving me the introduction to the hostel, and basically when we approached my room that I was going into, there's like stuff written all over the door. And a lot of it was, no sex in this room, no sex in this room. And I'm just like, is that like a problem that usually happens? And he was like, well, this is like your safe place away from people having sex. And I was like, oh, okay. Because like our door would lock, and you're not allowed to have any guests in there. You can't bring anybody except staff back there. Basically, I've never been told this by a manager, so it was just really weird and crazy since I met this person 5 minutes prior. But was just like, so this place is like your family. You don't want to have sex with your brothers and sisters. They're your family here, the staff. You can have sex with any of the guests that you want, but none of the staff. And I'm like, okay. Like, in my head, I'm just like, this wasn't what I was planning on doing here, but I'm just listening to this man's spiel. And so then we walk out of that room, and then as he's showing me like the beer pong room and the foosball room and the bar, and then he shows me this other place where he's like, well, you know, there is a place for staff to have sex, not with each other, but with guests. And I was like, you have an entire room for that? He was like, yeah, shows me said room, tells me the rules of said room, where to get sheets for said room, to always be safe in said room. And I'm just like, okay. I just kept nodding because I'm like, it was just so weird and different, because every other job I've had, has a manager ever said that to you when you first met them? Probably not. So this was just very different. And then we concluded that with a welcome shot. We just went and did a shot of Borovička, which is the Slovakian drink of choice, which is actually really good and fun to say. So yeah, my introduction to the hostel was pretty crazy. Also, meeting all of my coworkers and hearing about their escapades and things that they have done, and basically all of them being like, did you see the room? Did you see the room that we have? And I was like, yeah, I had looked at the room. Yeah, Slovakia. Crazy story number 2 involved what we had behind the bar. So if you wanted a free shot at the bar at any time when they're open, you can have that if you spin the wheel. Now this is anybody, staff, guests, anybody that spins the wheel. So on said wheel were like, I think like 8 options, quite a lot of things. And they ranged from pretty mild and cool to like, I don't know if I want to do that. And I mean, of course, you're not going to be forced to do whatever is on it if you don't want to do it. You are just then banned from spinning the wheel for the rest of the night, and you don't get the free shot. But if you want the free shot, you spin the wheel, and there was the options of, there was kiss the bartender, tip the bartender lots, get spanked by the bartender, do a nudie run. And if you didn't see that explained in my last video, that was basically going all the way to the end of the hallway in this bar area, taking off all of your clothes, running to the bar, doing the shot, and then running back, or walking, you know, whatever your preference is. But most people would like to run and just get it over with, unless they were drunk and didn't, which happened a lot. And I'm like, good for you. There was kiss someone of the same gender. There was do a shoey out of this like communal shoe. It was like, I don't think it was a shoe that had ever been worn. I don't actually know. It's like a red heel, and everybody did it out of the same shoe. Oh my god, just thinking about it, disgusting. And then one was like, flash the bartender, if you were a girl up here, if you were a guy down there. I think that's really all I can remember. So there was spinning that wheel, and all of watching so many people do it, and the looks on their faces when they did it or completed it was just crazy. But a lot of people do it over and over and over just to get free shots, and I'm like, that's fair, and that's usually how people got incredibly messed up for the night. And that leads me into my next crazy story, which is beer delivery. So it's one night, it's like 4 in the morning. I'm very wasted. It was a very crazy party night. I think we had the river party, and then we came back for an after party, and then it was me and then 2 coworkers and 1 guest, and we were like the only people left in the bar. Everybody else was either passed out drunk somewhere, but we were left still standing, and we're just spinning the wheel, and we are drunk. And then the bartender decides to take that moment to tell me about beer delivery at 7 a.m. and I was like, what is beer delivery? I've never heard of that. And he's like, oh, like the manager didn't tell you what beer delivery is? And I'm like, no. Apparently, I think it was like Monday mornings, at 7 a.m. we would get beer delivered to the hostel. And the bar is on the 3rd floor. And the staircase to this place was absolutely huge. It's a giant spiral of like marble flooring. It's not just like your like tight spiral up there. No, it's like a giant spiral staircase up. And so it's 7 a.m. We get everybody that works at the hostel, all the managers, all the bartenders, all the people that worked at our sister hostel to all come and build a human chain from the bottom of the stairs all the way up to the top of the stairs. And you pass all of the beer in like, I think it was like either 24 or 30 bottle big containers up the stairs. And it's literally like 4:30 in the morning right now, and I'm drunk, and I'm like, this has to be a joke. Like, there's no way that I'm like, what? And then soon after that, about 5 a.m. I went to bed. At 7 a.m., bang, bang, bang on the door, everyone's screaming, beer delivery, beer delivery. And I'm so hungover, and I'm so dead, and I'm so tired, and I'm a zombie, and I'm like, there's no way. There's no way this was real. But I'm a trooper, so I stand up, I put my hood up from my hoodie, and I just like zombily walk out the door, become a part of the human chain, and I'm just lifting these massive things of beer, and they're so heavy. I'm barely doing like any walking up the steps. I just feel like I'm a person that's just there and doing this with my body because I literally couldn't do anything else. And then I do all of that for the bartender to come up to me hours later and say, you didn't go to beer delivery. And I was like, yes, I did. And then I even proved it by saying what like the last thing that we brought up the stairs was, but I couldn't name either of the people next to me. I really had no idea what else was going on. I was just there. And then it took so long to convince him that I was actually there. I had to have other people be like, you saw me there. I literally talked to you. And they were like, yeah, you were there. And I was like, tell him, because he was the bartender. So of course, like, he cared that everybody else was there to help. And that was just like one way to get introduced to probably the hardest part of the shift. Like, what? Okay, my next crazy story happened during one of the river parties. And I was like, I think I was like half hosting this one. I was half hosting one of them. Like, I was like a helper, I wasn't the leader because 1, I can't start a fire. 2, I wasn't gonna carry the backpack full of so many bottles of liquor. And 3, I didn't know the route to get to the river. So I was just there, like, pointing people to like get there, right? Get to the river. Everybody's already wasted. They get the fire started. And then, so right next to this river, and like one thing that we're really told to tell people is to not jump in the river. It's one of the fastest moving currents in rivers in Europe. So I've been told. I don't know if that's actually true, but that's what I was told. The river that runs through Bratislava, it's huge. It's massive. How long across it is. And like you could see it just by looking at it. It moves so fast. And of course, trying to control a bunch of drunk people, they're like, let's jump in the river. And I'm like, no, you're not gonna jump in the river. So I'm like, half of my job was convincing drunk people to not jump in the river. And then one guy wound up doing it, but I was like, look buddy, you're 2 times the size of me. If something happens to you, I'm not gonna be able to pull you out. That's on you at that point. All I can do is give you my wise words of wisdom and tell you to not jump in the river. He did it and was fine. Props to him. I worry. I don't want anything like that to happen on my watch because then I'd feel bad. I'm gonna drink just thinking about it. The same night, there was somebody else that we were talking to. It was like a group of 4 of us. And this guy takes a step backwards and trips over a rock and like bashes his back onto like a giant rock. And I'm just like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to carry this 200-something pound man out of the woods. But he was fine somehow. Like if you watched this fall and this person was sober, he would have not been fine. But he wound up being fine. And I'm glad. And I'm sure he had a really big bruise on his back for a few weeks. But I guess when you're that drunk, you don't really feel the pain at that very moment. I guess I'm just glad he didn't hit his head. It looked like he did, but I guess he didn't. So it was just a little nerve-wracking because people just they're just careless when they're drunk, you know. Yeah. Okay. Next story would be the first house party that I attended. And the theme was pimps and hoes. Great theme, I would say. So you either had people dressed as a pimp or dressed as a hoe. And it was really great because a lot of the guys dressed as hoes and they were wearing like skin tight dresses and like crop tops, and it was really funny. But the funniest part of Pimps and Hoes Party was the bingo sheet that we had. It was like, you get little bingo cards, and it was basically all numbers, and then you go to this sheet that was on the wall, and it tells you what number corresponds to what you need to do. And then if you get like a line down, you cross off a line, then you go and get a free shot from the bartender. So fun concept for a house party, right? Some of the things on there were like, go up to somebody and pretend like you're gonna kiss them and then swerve. Or show somebody your best like lap dance, or kiss an attractive stranger, show somebody your best sex position, or convince somebody else that they owe you money, or go up to somebody, take a sip of their drink without saying anything, and then hand it back. And like, it was just wild. I think I crossed off one of them, which was the pretend to kiss somebody and then swerve at the last second, which that was really funny. And like, it's great. It was great being a volunteer, because even though I was allowed to do whatever I wanted with guests, that didn't mean that I wanted to. So I would be like, oh, sorry, like, you can't kiss me, I'm a volunteer. So I can make up my own rules if I wanted to. They didn't have to know. I'm just like, no, I work here, so it's not appropriate. So it was funny. Then, and honestly, I don't even remember if this was the same night or not. Everything just blends together. We got everybody into one of the chill out rooms to play a game, Piccolo, I think it was called, where everybody like puts their name into a phone game, and then it like pairs people up to like do things. Play the game where you like stand back to back, and like people will just like shout questions at you, and if you think you've done it or you've done it more or whatever, you drink, and if the other person thinks they did it more, they drink, and if you both drink at the same time, then you get like a strike. Crazy weird drinking games. The more into the night went on, like, it just started getting raunchy. Everybody was just like taking off their clothes, and I was just kind of like, I was there chilling for a little while, but I wasn't going to be any more involved than that, of just kind of being there and at least giving my verbal answers to some of these questions games thing. That's just who I am as a person. I have my limits just like everybody else. I just like to be involved in the party, because I like to party. But I didn't really watch the end of that night. That was just chaos. I remember one night after being severely hungover, I'm in the kitchen, eating some oatmeal and blueberries, and I'm like, yes, have a nice healthy breakfast and gain back some vitamins and be sober for a few hours until I have to like work and party again. And then one of our guests comes in and is like, Lindsay, 10 a.m., strawpedo. And I'm like, can I just put one healthy thing into my body before I do whatever a strawpedo is? So that, I learned what a strawpedo is. I don't think that's something we do in America. I have never once heard of a strawpedo until it was this hostel, which is like taking a bottle and putting a straw into it so you can like chug it faster. But they were using these like those Smirnoff drinks, like the colored ones. I can't drink those. They're too sweet. They're too much sugar. And like, I remember this guy videoed it. I'm gonna see if I can find it. I'm just in the background eating my healthy food, and he's just doing a strawpedo at 10 a.m. and I'm just like, this is chaos. And then I remember walking past him again like a little while later, and he's in the lobby. I did take a video of this, doing strawpedos with everybody and my manager at the front desk at reception, just being absolutely chaotic. And I'm like, it's before noon. This is, how do these people keep running? Like, I don't know, because a lot of them were the same age as me. Not all of them, but a lot of them were, and I'm like, this Eastern European alcoholic level is just not on my level. But I tried. I definitely tried. Speaking of more early morning drinking, there was one shift I was working. I'm like making beds, just trying to stay alive, per usual, in like a dorm room. And then I hear everybody cheering from reception, and like I hear them all like getting ready to take a shot, and then they take a shot, and I'm like, I could not take a shot right now. Like, I'd literally die. And I'm like, I'm so glad I wasn't involved in that. I'm putting on a bed sheet on the top bunk. My coworker runs in. He's like, Lindsay, we got a shot for you! And they're all like so excited. I'm like, what am I gonna be, like a bummer? No, shot at 10 a.m. trying to make beds. Okay, so another thing that we did at this hostel, which I think they ended right before I got there because it got too chaotic. Surprise. Was something that they called staff bingo. You get like a bingo card. There's a bunch of things on there as a staff member that you would then have to cross off. Like cleaning up vomit, cleaning up shit, falling asleep anywhere except your bed, falling asleep anywhere but at the hostel, having sex in this orange bathroom, giving oral at reception, utter chaos, having sex in like the greenhouse room, doing the Slovak challenge, which was like a 72% shot, 52% shot, and then like one other, like all back to back, like the most strongest alcohol that we had at the bar, and doing 3 of them back to back. One of them was this like this other like breakfast challenge that was like cornflakes and Tetra Tea alcohol, which is, I think it's a vodka. I don't even know. I never had it before I came to Slovakia. But you have this, it's 52%, and it's in your cornflakes, and you're supposed to eat that. Oh my god, I could never. Another one was like mixing Tetra Tea, and then somebody else had to pick anything in the kitchen to equal that half. It could be oil, it could be mustard, it could be milk, soup, sauce, anything. And no. I never attempted this bingo because I know that there's no way I would be able to do even like a quarter of the things on this list. And the guests also had bingo, and it was like a separate bingo of things that they needed to do, like get a tattoo, sleep with a volunteer, attend the river party, attend a pub crawl. So many. There's so many things on these bingo lists. Attend a house party, help with beer delivery. I remember that one beer delivery, we had 4 guests helping us, which was great because we had more hands for this human chain, but it was just so random. Like, how are you all still awake and alive right now to be helping with this terrible work that we have to be doing? But they were all really enthusiastic about it because they were still drunk, so I'm sure if I wasn't hungover, I would have been more enthusiastic about it. Okay, I have 2 more stories. One was really random and fun. It was on my last night. I really wanted to go hard on my last night, but I was dying. I was like, I couldn't stop coughing. I could barely breathe. I was so tired. Like, I was like, it looked like I had just gotten beat up. Like, I was barely alive. I tried to go to the pub crawl, but after the first bar, I just came back and I hung out with some cool people that I had gotten to know. And we went into the bar, and they opened up the bar because there was enough of us there that weren't at the pub crawl for it to be open. And then, I don't really even remember whose idea it was, but they were like, let's turn it into a nude bar. And then one guy just got naked, and I was like, no, I was like completely sober. I wasn't gonna do that anyway. I was just like, and then everyone just like took their shirts off, and he was like, oh, fine, so then it's just a topless bar. And then he put his pants back on, and then it was just a topless bar. And people were spinning the wheel, and then they started doing all the challenges that we have on the board, like how fast can you drink a beer with a straw? How fast can you like bong, do like the beer bong? How fast can you eat a bag of, they're like peanut Cheetos? I guess that's a European thing. I've never had that here because they're really dry, so they make your mouth dry. Just like we have like a bunch of challenges, and like one volunteer before he left like completed all of them, so his name was across the board, so other people were just trying to beat his time on things, but I don't think anybody did. It was just some complete chaos, especially to watch when I was basically sober. And so I have saved my craziest story for the end. If you had watched my shorts video, you probably know a good gist of it, but I wasn't constantly filming, so I did leave some things out, which I'm gonna now look over. I started my shift and I was like, this is gonna be crazy. I'm going to document everything that happens. And I was like, maybe I'll have one crazy thing to write down an hour. And then it became like every 5 to 10 minutes I had something else to write down. So I'm just gonna read my notes real quick and rebrief myself, and then we're gonna dive into that. Okay, so this night started with one of my coworkers briefly explaining to me how the night shift worked, because it was my first night shift. And I was like, oh, well, since it's my first night shift, I'm sure like there will be somebody that I'll follow, and then I'll learn how to do it, and then I'll do it myself next time. Nah. They quickly explained to me every single thing that was going to go on in like 5 to 10 minutes. And I was just trying to take everything in. While there's chaos going on around me, people are getting checked in, people are partying around us, people are drinking, I'm like, okay, I'm going to try. I thought it was mainly going to be me just like chilling at reception, checking on the bathrooms, doing a little bit of paperwork from the day. And it was that, plus a bunch of like deep cleaning and handling all the chaos, which wound up being a lot more chaos than I ever really thought it could be. And it was just like so much deep cleaning that I was supposed to get done within all of these other things, and I was trying to remember everything. It was like, oh, make sure that the Slovaks aren't getting into the trash outside, like shoo them away, because if they get into it, then they're either like taking our bottles or they're putting more bottles into our trash, and if they do that, then the people won't take our trash. So I'm like, what am I supposed to do about that? So it starts off, he tells me everything, and he's like, all right, good luck, I'll be around, but I'm gonna be drunk. And I'm like, cool. So all of the staff was there. They were just all heavily drinking. I'm just lucky that my manager was also there. Even though he was also drinking, I'm just glad that He was awake and alive and present. So my night officially starts. I get the keys. I'm in charge now. One of our guests, who was super cool, and I like him a lot, came down from the bar area and was just like, I got this orgy list going. And I'm like, oh, cool. And then he did briefly say that it was like a joke at first, but it didn't seem like it was a joke, and I had a feeling as the night progressed that it wasn't going to be a joke. So I was just kind of like, okay, cool, great way to start off the night. So I started doing like the little bit of paperwork that I have as more people are like coming in, needing to get checked in. So I don't really get to work on it. It's just chaos after chaos of like things needing to get done, me trying to give tours to people coming in. And then I have to lock the gate at 10 and lock up all the windows because that's when people really start getting loud. And a lot of people were supposed to go on this pub crawl, but they didn't because they heard about this orgy and the party that was happening with it. So when I was supposed to have a break, I didn't really get one. An hour and a half into my shift, one of my coworkers comes down into the lobby with this guy, and she was just like, you can't, like, me, I hear her talking to him like, you can't make people like feel like that, like they were uncomfortable. And I'm like, what's going on? And so apparently he had made like 3 girls up there uncomfortable, just like touching them when they didn't want to be touched, trying to kiss them, and they were like, no. And then he was just trying to explain his reasoning, but there's no way that you can really explain that. Like, he wasn't getting that it wasn't okay. And he was only like a 20-year-old, like, small kid. Like, I would just call him a kid because I'm 27, so I look at 20-year-olds and I'm just like, you're a child. Even though in Slovakia you can drink and party, of course, at that age. You can start partying at like 17, 18. So after like a few minutes, we try to just like de-escalate him, and he's like, so what are you gonna do? What do we do now? She's like, well, you know, we're just telling you what not to do, and if this happens again or if more people complain, we're gonna have to keep you from being upstairs. And so he was like, so I'm fine to go then? And she was like, well, yeah. And so then he just like bolts up the stairs, and we're just like, that's great, that's gonna be fun. And about an hour later, he comes down the stairs again with her and one of the other male staff members, and they're like, hey, like, you can't be up there anymore, like, you made too many people uncomfortable. And they're just like yelling at each other back and forth. And then he's saying that he's gonna call the police on us because we are keeping him from the party, even though he's up there making people uncomfortable. And then literally tries to call the police for what? Like, he's like, I paid 20 euros for this bed, like I'm allowed to party and do whatever I want. And we're like, no, you're not allowed to do whatever you want. You're allowed to party, but you have to like stick to the rules of society. But he just wasn't getting them. So we banished him to his room, where I was hoping he would stay because the reception area is really close to his room. And if everybody's upstairs partying, it's just me down there. I didn't really want to deal with that. Like, I don't like, of course, who does like dealing with men that don't respect women's boundaries? So it made me a little bit nervous, but I was like, nah, I can handle it. So about an hour later, he comes out of his room, and one of the female staff members comes out of like the door that leads upstairs to go up to the bar, and she sees him, and she's like, go back to your room, like, you're not allowed up there. And he was like, I just need to get my bag. I left my bag up there. And she's like, we can get your bag. And he's like, no, I can get my bag. And they just start fighting, and I'm sitting at the reception desk, kind of just like looking over, seeing what's going on, but not getting up because I'm assuming he would just be smart and go back to his room and she would get the bag for him. And then he pushes her out of the way and pushes her into the staircase. And then when I hear that, like, I bolt up because I'm just like, oh my god, like, what the fuck? And I run over there, and then one of the other male staff members is in the staircase, and he's trying to like pin him up against the wall to not get to go upstairs. And I'm like, I'm not gonna try and get involved. I'm not gonna try and like hold this guy down. I'm not touching this person. I'm not trying to get into a fight on the stairwell. So I run up to the bar and I try to grab at least all of the male staff members, my manager, and some male guests that I know could help me. And so they all come down the stairs, and they all just start fighting in the staircase, like trying to get him to just trying to shove him, not shove him down the stairs, but like get him, pick him up physically and move him so we can get him out of the gate so we don't have to deal with it anymore. But he was just resisting so hard. So I'm just kind of standing back there watching, and eventually they do get him down the bottom of the stairs. I go back to reception because I know like the least amount of people there was more like beneficial because it was just more chaotic for a lot of people to be around that situation. So I know that my manager and a few of the other staff members were dealing with it down there, and I just went back to reception. And all of a sudden my phone rings, and then I just hear my manager screaming like, yeah, we have this guy here who's like fighting staff members, and I'm just like, I know, it's me. And then I just hear, it's like 2 seconds of silence, and he's like, fuck, and then just hangs up the phone. I'm like, I know he was trying to call the police. Eventually the police did come. I wasn't down there for when it happened, so I don't know exactly what happened, but we wound up having to lock the one gate that we always keep locked, and then the door to like the front of our building, which it also has another business there, so we don't usually keep that one locked, but the business was closed, so it didn't matter because it's like 3 in the morning now. And then he is just sitting outside of that second locked door, and I had to like let people out because like I have to open the gate with my key every time somebody wants to come in or come out. So when I was like letting people out, luckily he didn't like jump up and try and get back in or try to push me or anything, and people are just like walking by and filming him and laughing, and I'm just like, what is going on? So between dealing with all of this, I'm also supposed to be checking on the bathrooms and the laundry and cleaning the kitchen and deep cleaning. I was supposed to like deep clean the bathrooms that night. I never got to that. So once he was gone, it got a little better. But at this point, this person that was hosting this orgy is now telling me that, oh my god, like people are like really doing it. There's like 24 people up there, and I'm now the manager of it, and I'm bringing people water, and I'm just like, what's going on? And then this other guest comes down, and she's drunk, and she's like, so this girl just peed on the floor in the bar, and I'm just like, cool. And then I just go up there with a mop, and then there's like 3 people standing where she said that this happened, and I'm just like, I'm just gonna mop where you're standing because I heard somebody peed there, and they're like, oh, so we're standing and pee, and I was like, yeah, and they were like, oh. I just move out of my way. I mean, I just spray the floor. I'm like, I don't really know what to do. Like everything is just chaos, and all I can really do is mop. What am I supposed to do? Mop, and then make sure the bathrooms are fine. Nobody threw up, so that was great. I don't even want to go near this room where they say said orgy's going on, so I just stay at the complete opposite end of the hallway and go back downstairs. A lot of nice girls were just like, oh my god, come party upstairs, like come join this, and I was like, I'm working, I'm gonna do some paperwork, thank you, love, I hope you have a great time. And then some other drunk girls come into my lobby, and then one of them starts crying, saying that she just met this girl a few days ago and now she feels responsible for her, but she's just like mean and wants to party like too late, and like she's not interested in doing that, but she doesn't know how to say no. And I'm just like, love, like I can tell you're an empath. And she's like, I am. So she starts crying, and I'm just like, so many things were happening. I'm trying to give my best advice to her, while also this other guy is coming in and just trying to drunk rant to me about salami and Nutella, and it was like there was literally never a moment of silence. My paperwork was inputting like 23 names and addresses into the computer, and it took me 7 hours to input every single one because I just got interrupted every single time I tried to have a second to do that. And then a lot of people kept coming and buying beers from me at reception, even though there was a bar upstairs, and then they kept tipping me, and I'm like, thank you, I'm not a bartender, but this is awesome. So I wound up making like 15 euros that night just from people not wanting to wait for me to give them change. So I guess impatient drunk people that's fun. Time goes on. Eventually I finished the laundry for the guests at like 5:30 a.m., which is like way too late, but I just never really had time to keep going over there. And then I went into the kitchen at like 5:45, and there's just like a burner on, burning pasta, and I'm like, cool. So people just wanted to make a ton of pasta and then leave. And then like 15 minutes after that, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go start deep cleaning the kitchen because my shift was supposed to end at 7. But the one thing about this hostel is if you don't finish all the things on your shift, you have to keep working until all those things are done, which was annoying because I had so much to clean dealing with all this chaos. And so then there's like 4 or 5 people in the kitchen, and they're all cooking. One of them is making a cake out of bread. The other one's making fries and pasta. And I'm just like, well, I guess I can't really deep clean now because they're using absolutely everything to cook all this food. It was nice that they did give me some fries. They sang happy birthday to the birthday girl with their bread cake. And then by the time it's 7, I was like, okay, well, my shift's over, but I haven't even touched the kitchen. The morning shift manager gets there. She's really mad about the orgy, and I'm like, was I supposed to like stop that? Like, no one ever told me what to do in case of this. I'm like, I didn't think they were hurting anybody. It's a party hostel. She wasn't mad at me. She was just like, why are people like this? And I'm like, alcohol. So she was mad, and then the room that they did this in was completely trashed, so she yelled at all the staff, not knowing who was involved. I don't even know who was involved, and yelled at them all because I had to then clean it up, and it was a trash room. It was awful. It was terrible. There was a trash can in the room to dispose of certain things in, and like nobody used it. So I put on like 3 pairs of gloves to go and clean this room, and I'm just like, I'm past the time that my shift is supposed to be over, and this is what I'm doing. I'm cleaning up after like a 20-person orgy. And I'm like delirious at this point too, because I got up at 10 a.m. the day before and I just couldn't sleep because it's just impossible to sleep in the room there. And then after that, I had to mop from the furthest point in the hallway of the bar all the way down all 3 flights of stairs to the front entrance. That took like an hour. And around 8:45 was when I finally finished my night shift, and it was just, I felt like I was on another planet. I wasn't even fully there. I don't know what happened. I don't know how I survived, but I did. And I never thought I would ever work a shift like that in my life. It was complete utter chaos. So those are my top 10 craziest stories from working at a party hostel in Slovakia. I would like to do another type of vlog like this, but it will most likely be from the guest perspective of going to party hostels and not working at them, because it was an experience to be had for sure. But you know, with the career path that I'm taking, there's not really much room left in my schedule to devote so much time to cleaning up orgies. I don't really think I could put that on a resume, to be honest. I can guarantee you, with the next place that I'll be going, there's still going to be a lot of chaos happening and coming from this channel, so I hope you hit that subscribe button and stick around for that. So thank you guys for joining me on this one, and I will catch y'all on the next one.